Welcome to Newsmax TV. Despite America's great traditions of independence and self-rule, ordinary citizens are losing their freedoms to a swelling group of bipartisan political elites. That's according to Boston University professor Angelo Codevilla. He's the author of a brand new book, The Ruling Class: How They Corrupted America and What We Can Do About It. He's on the phone with us right now. Welcome, Angelo.
Thank you.
The book expands on themes of an essay that originally appeared in the American Spectator that ignited a firestorm among commentators. Even Rush Limbaugh endorsed it. Can you explain the thesis and why it's resonated with conservatives?
Well, I believe that the American people realized around the time of the financial bailouts in September of 2004 that there was really no division among party elites about measures which some 3/4 of the American people opposed. The bailouts were, as you know, extremely unpopular. Nevertheless, not only could you find no support for the American people's position among bipartisan elites, Republicans and Democrats, but these elites refused to really give reasons why they were doing the things they were doing. They did not explain what they meant by systemic collapse of the American economy, which they predicted, or why it should happen. And in fact, they denigrated those who asked sharp questions like, what do you mean by that? And simply asserted that they had no right, not even any right to ask. This is, of course, is something that has been going on for a long time, not just with regard to these bailouts, but with regard to a whole bunch of other things, including environmental policy and so forth. In fact, American government has slipped out of the hands of the American people since the 1930s and has been largely in the hands of administrative agencies. We are not ruled by the rules that Congress makes, detailed rules upon which legislators vote and to which votes they can be held accountable. We are ruled by the decisions of unelected bureaucrats. Now, the American people at a certain point realized this and have asked, what can we do about it? And my book was an attempt to explain where these ideas of bipartisan elites come from, why they think this way, and the need for Americans to really take back their government, not just by throwing out the rascals, which is the easy thing to do, but number one, by cutting down the size of government, and number two, which is even more important, subjecting these administrative agencies to election, and of course to much greater scrutiny by the electorate.
You say we're divided into the ruling class and the country class.
That's right.
What makes up the ruling class and what separates the ruling class from the country class?
Well, what makes up the ruling class is really two things. One, attachment to government, and belief that we who are attached to government are the spokesmen, the priests, if you will, of science, and as such have the right to dominate that unscientific mass of Americans who really don't understand. You know, the attitude really is the key. They look at us and they say, well, these people have frustrations, anger, prejudices, but not reason. And so we need not take their thinking, their objections into account because they are not rational. We are the only rational people, except, of course, that when you try to reason with them, you can't. They won't let you. Theirs is dogma, and the strangest thing is that they believe that their dogma is reason.
You write that the ruling class is a direct result of the progressive policies and the agenda of the left. Are insurgent Republican candidates for the Senate like Joe Miller in Alaska, Marco Rubio in Florida, and Christine O'Donnell in Delaware enough to counter those policies?
Well, that remains to be seen. Once upon a time, there was a man named Barry Goldwater, and then another one named Ronald Reagan. They were rebels against the Republican Party establishment, and the Republican Party establishment did everything they could to crush them. I was in Washington for during Reagan's time, before actually and during. And I saw that when Ronald Reagan left office and turned the administration over to George H.W. Bush, who was very much an establishment Republican, the transition between the two administrations was even more thorough and bitter than the transition between parties. The traditional Republicans got rid of the Reaganites faster and much more bitterly than Democrats would have. The bitterness between traditional Republicans, say the New York State Republican establishment, and someone like Carl Palladino, is much greater than between Republicans and Democrats.
In the presidential sweepstakes of 2012, a new Gallup poll shows Mitt Romney just ahead of Sarah Palin, should they both run. Who is your ideal candidate for president, sir?
Well, my ideal candidate for president is a hybrid between Sarah Palin and Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich is a very brilliant man. Sarah Palin is a political talent such as we have not seen since Ronald Reagan. And she is very much a member of, undoubtedly a member of the country class. Newt Gingrich sometimes is so clever as to be too clever, such as, for example, when he endorsed global warming, not because he believes in it, he's far too smart for that, but because he wanted a seat at the table. Gingrich is, as I say, a brilliant man and a good man, but sometimes too clever for himself. Sarah Palin has not yet reached out to the kind of people with whom she would govern. No one knows, for example, whom she would appoint to be Secretary of State or Defense or the Treasury. You know that Gingrich would appoint, say, Steve Forbes to Treasury, John Bolton to State, and so forth. Whom would Sarah Palin appoint? We don't know. So my ideal presidential candidate is a hybrid of those two people. Of course, that's impossible, but one can only wish.
The book, The Ruling Class, How They Corrupted America and What We Can Do About It. Angelo Codevilla, congratulations on the book and good luck with it.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.